I'm John with Helena Food Share, and I'm here with Kim from the Extension Office. At Helena Food Share, we believe that access to healthy food is a human right, and we're working hard to bring more healthy food to our customers. A lot of the food in our pantry comes from donations from grocery stores and from individuals. We're glad that we're getting more and more fresh produce. We also buy food from local growers. This year, we're participating in the Harvest of the Month program with the Extension Office. Every month features a different local product. This month, we're featuring barley. All month, we'll have barley available for our customers, along with recipes and tips for how to make it. Kim is our lead with the Harvest of the Month project. Today, she's going to show you how to make barley stew. For more information about Helena Food Share, the services we offer, how you can help, or recipes, go to helenafoodsshare.org and like us on Facebook. Kim?
Great. Thanks, John. Hi, my name is Kim Lloyd, and I am an extension agent with Lewis and Clark County, and I also provide cooking and nutrition classes through the SNAP Ed program. And I am going to show today a little bit of information about grains, and then I also want to demonstrate a vegetable barley stew that I made. So I want to start off and give a couple of facts about grains. If you drive around the state of Montana, you notice that there are grains growing in the fields along the roads. And Montana fields grow grains such as wheat, barley, corn, oats, and we're actually the third top producer in the nation of wheat and barley, which is pretty cool. So we see a lot of products around Montana made out of wheat and barley. Today we're going to focus on barley with our vegetable barley stew. And something that's really interesting about barley, I thought, is that barley has played a role in cultures for thousands of years. In Egypt, barley used to be used in religious ceremonies. And in Rome, the gladiators used to believe that barley gave them strength after they ate it. So barley is a pretty cool grain that we should all be eating and getting strength to hold up to the Montana winters and all of that. So when I talk about grains, most of the grains that we eat are usually ground up into flour that make things like pasta and breads and cereals and crackers. But you can also eat grains in their whole form, and that includes things like whole barley. If you wanted to see like what a whole wheat looked like, before it's ground up into flour, there's whole wheat kernels, and they ground up into flour to make things like breads and pastas. But it's really important to remember that we should really try and eat whole grains because they're full of great nutrition. So a lot of products like pasta and breads and cereals contain refined white flour, and that means that a lot of the nutrition has been removed from it. I have a little diagram here that shows a really big whole grain. And this whole grain has all of its parts to it. So that means that all the nutrition is still intact. So pretend this is a really big piece of barley or wheat, and there's three main parts that it has. There's bran, which is kind of the outer coat of the grain, and that has all the fiber in it. We have the endosperm, and that has all the carbohydrates. That makes up the majority of the grain. There's also this little speck in there, the germ. It's a good kind of germ. It contains all the vitamins and minerals. So when we have all these three parts in a whole grain, we're getting a good amount of fiber, we're getting a good amount of vitamins and minerals and carbohydrates, and they all work together in our bodies to give us energy. However, what happens when they grind a whole wheat kernel in to make white flour, they remove the germ, which contains all the vitamins and minerals. They also remove the bran that contains all the fiber. And all we're left with is the endosperm, which contains the carbohydrates. So this is what a white flour would be made out of. Now, in order to make sure that we get all of our nutrition, you want to look for things like whole wheat flour, whole wheat pasta. The word whole is really important because it tells you that it contains the bran, the endosperm, and the germ. And that goes along with any of our grains. Popcorn is a whole grain, quinoa is a whole grain, whole wheat kernels is a whole grain. Something interesting about barley is the bran or the hull on the barley can be kind of tough. So oftentimes at the store you'll see something called pearl or pearled barley, and that means that it's been kind of polished to get most of the bran off, most of the fiber, and so you're left with a barley that doesn't have as much fiber as it came out of the field. So when you're looking for barley at the store, pearled barley is okay. You're still going to get good nutrition from that, still a little bit of fiber, but you should also try and look for, there are some varieties of barley that are hull-less, which means that the hull is removed easily and then so it still has a good amount of fiber. There's a really cool purple barley that Food Share is going to have on the shelves, and that is a hull-less barley, so you'll still get your fiber by eating that. Or you can look for barley, just if you look for the word hulled barley, that means it still has all of its bran on there. It just takes a little bit longer to cook and might be a little bit chewier than the pearled barley. Something to look for at the store. All right, so let's get into making a vegetable barley stew. I really like this stew because it is full of a lot of different vegetables that are available year-round, and they're available for pretty low cost year-round, so it's easy to find things like celery, carrots, cabbage, onions. They also last in the fridge for a long time, so if you buy a cabbage, it can last a couple of weeks if it's stored in the right conditions. It also just comes together really quick, has some good protein from beans, and then of course has barley in there for a good amount of fiber. So I already have the soup made, but I wanted to talk through the ingredients that are in it. And to start off the soup, we just started off with a couple of carrots and celery, and then also put in an onion. And we start off by sauteing the onion, the carrots, and the celery together to help give it some flavor. And then basically it's just opening up some cans and dumping them in the pot and cooking it for 20-30 minutes until the barley is cooked through. So after the veggies were sauteed, I went ahead and put in half a cup of barley and just put it in uncooked. So it's nice to rinse it off first before you put it in. That just gets some of the starch off of it. Rinse it off and then throw it in the pot along with the sauteed veggies. As that cooks then, really quickly you can dump in a whole can of diced tomatoes. Also a can of, these are pinto beans, but you could do any kind of can of beans that you have on hand. Black beans, white beans, kidney beans, any of them would work. Just a really nice way to add some fiber and protein and bulk up the soup. Before you add the beans, really important to pour them into a colander and rinse them with water. That helps cut off some of the salt, especially getting the water off of that comes in the can. That'll cut out some of the sodium in there. After we have all those veggies in, all we needed to do then was to add about 6 cups of water. And to the water, you could use broth if you have it on hand, but what I like to do is have some bouillon just in a container. I mean, any brand will work, but bouillon is nice because it stays on the shelf for a while. You don't have to use it up quick, and you can control the amount of sodium. So bouillon, of course, is really high in sodium, but if you only use half the amount that it calls for, then it will be a little bit less sodium. And so you can control it that way, add as much flavoring as you would like. And then the only other ingredients is some Italian seasoning. If you have it around, a bay leaf is optional too. And then you let it all cook. The water will help cook the barley in there, so you'll cook it for about 20 minutes at a slight boil until the barley has been cooked. And then right before it's finished, I added in a bunch of chopped cabbage. So again, cabbage is a really good vegetable to have on hand because it helps bulk things up, and cabbage is really inexpensive. And I know that they have it quite often at Helena Food Share too, so that's a good thing to have on hand and just to throw in the soup. And of course, you could use any vegetables that you have on hand to throw in here too. That's what's so fun about making soup. It's a great way to use things up. You could throw in some mushrooms if you have it, or maybe some zucchini would be really good. Any kind of green would be nice to add at the end. Some kale would be really delicious. And even in the summertime, this would be a really good meal to make from all Montana ingredients. So you could do fresh local vegetables with Montana grown barley, because we grow a lot of it here, and then cook it all together and have a really nice stew. So let me show you what this looks like. It's already cooked up here. Nice big pot of soup. And I have, so there's a bunch of barley in there along with veggies and beans. Just a really nice hearty soup, really good for nice cold spring days in the fall. I mean, even in the summer, this would make a nice soup. So we'll go ahead and serve this up and try it out. And again, look for Barley at the Helena Food Share Pantry, and we will have recipes and be handing out samples of barley soup over the next week as well. So thanks for watching, and again, look for recipes.